Okay, so we're going to start with exercise 224 today, which really should give you some time to catch up a bit, because all we're doing is taking what we did last class, which was the interior daytime rendering, and we're converting that into an interior night rendering. And so if you didn't have all the lights that you wanted installed, now's the time to install the lights. I'm going to go back through and, for review purposes, install some more lights and practice with it a little bit. But the first thing that we need to do is we need to convert from our daytime rendering into our nighttime rendering. And so there's kind of multiple steps involved here. I've tried a variety of ways of making it easy for you to switch from night to day. And I really think the quick rendering setups is probably the easiest way to switch. When it comes to your final renders for the class, it doesn't have to be pitch black night, though I have 2 night scenes that you can render from. I will count one of the sunset scenes as a night scene. So if you really want to do the sunset scene, the idea there, especially with this sunset, the sun is actually below the horizon anyway. So if you're using that, it technically is night, I guess. So I'm OK with the sunset scenes. For today's class, I'm going to use one of the actual night scenes, but recognize that you can use one of the other ones. So I'm going to go ahead and use this first basic night scene 1. I need to have the background HDRI downloaded. I think I already have it, but just in case, I'm going to download it again. I also need to make sure that I save the visopt file. So I'm going to right-click on the visopt file and save link as. You've probably discovered that if you click directly on it, all you get is this. So you have to make sure that you save as. So I'm going to right-click, save link as, and make sure it ends up on my flash drive, resources, V-Ray, HDRI, night HDRIs, and I forget which one this is. This is the Milky Way one. So we'll make sure that goes in there. And I need to make sure that the HDRIs are there too. Almost done. Let me go ahead and take these, copy them, same place. I think I already had them, but just in case. There we go. So I have all of those in my folder, and I'm going to use this basic night scene 1. Few things that are relevant here. We've got a few settings to make sure that we do and confirm, though the visopt file should load all of that. Furthermore, we have to make sure our shutter speed is at 100. Okay, so let me go ahead and start that conversion. Now, the visopt file only belongs in the master site file. Remember, that's the file that we do the renderings in. And before I do this, I'm going to go ahead and go into my V-Ray options, and I'm going to save my current daytime settings so that I can go back to them. Right? Remember, if we convert to night and you suddenly want to go back to render day, we either need to have a whole separate file, which is one way of doing it, or so that we reduce the duplication process, I would just make sure to save this for later. So V-Ray options, click the O, click the Save button right here, and then I'm going to go ahead and save this. And I'm going to save it with my master site file. And so this is a master site day, spring of 2017. I'll go ahead and save. And there it is. Now I need to go ahead and load up that nighttime one. And one of the ways of confirming that it loads is to open one of the drawers. So I'll just leave a drawer open, and I'll go to the load settings. And I'm going to go to my flash drive and go into my resources, my V-Ray, my HDRI, my night, and this was the Milky Way, and I'm going to load that one up. And as soon as it loads, it closes the drawer. So it's a way of knowing that it loaded. Let's look here and make sure the environment settings are correct. Good. Physical camera settings are correct. Good. Under environment, I do have to make sure that the HDRI is in the correct place. So let's go ahead and click on that and find it. resources, V-Ray, HDRI, night, Milky Way, and it is, which one was it looking for? I don't remember. Small. I was looking for that one. Open. And this one was looking for light. There we go. So now both of those are loaded in. I'll go ahead and say OK. Got both of those ready. Now I need to make sure that my scene looks the way that I want it to. So I should have night settings, which is good. But now I need to set up my views. And I did this last time, but just for practice, I'm going to do the process again. And so this time I'm going to set up a different view. I do want to make sure that my viewport is set, 1, in perspective, but 2, my lens length is at 18, so I can see in. And this time, let's see here. Let's look back in through here. I've never done this rendering, so I have no idea how it's going to look, but we'll give it a shot. Okay? So I'm looking back through here. I've got that set up the way that I want it. Remember, I'm going to save my view. So first thing I need to do is I'll click on my little down triangle here, go to Set View, Named Views, and this time I'm going to save it as, this is Interior Render 2, and I'll click Save. And now I need to install some lights in this particular scene. So I could drop a can light in up here so that I'm lighting kind of down at the stairs. So let's do that to start. I'll go to my Edit Blocks, Insert Block Instance, and let's go find that can light that I had. It was in Resources, Rhino Blocks. Never mind, it was not there. It was in my folder. Was it 22? Yeah. Orange can light. There we go. Okay. Embed as a reference. Go ahead and say OK. And I will hopefully drop it right. Come on. Right there. Maybe. There we go. Let's do a little bit of manipulation here. I'm going to move it so it's kind of right in that stairway. Oh, come on. Really? Gotta love it when things don't work the way that you want them to, right? Moving. See, it happens to all of us, right? No idea. Let's get rid of that. Let's try it again. I'm going to make sure that my can lights layer is active. Oh, is it not going to delete now too? It's got to be locked. It's got to be on a locked layer somewhere. All right, well. Let's see. On the bunch grass layer, which it shouldn't be. It should be movable. See, it just shows you that stuff happens to the best of us too, right? Well, Rhino's really not playing nice because I can't even explode this. So for right now, let me go ahead and save this, and then I'm going to close Rhino and open it up again. So you guys hang with me for just a second. So it was as simple as restarting Rhino. Don't know exactly why. So let's go ahead and move this back a little bit from the stairs. The goal is to have that shining down on the stairs. Now I need to install one of the lights that I had. I can use the one that's downstairs, that's fine, and bring it upstairs, or I could create a new light. Since I know this light works, I'll go ahead and copy it and just bring it up to the upstairs, like that. Let's move this one over a little bit. That. And it needs to move back so that it's in line with my light. And there it is. If I go to Properties, I go to Light Properties. Yep, it looks like it's going to work just fine. Let me go back to my Interior Render View, and let me go to Set View, Interior Render 1. Oops, it was Interior Render 2. And there it is. So I have that little can light shining down. That's good. Now maybe I also want to do a little bit of like underlighting the stairs, for example, to put a little bit of glow. Now, because they're kind of hidden down here, I'm not going to worry so much about the geometry that's holding the light because it's tucked up under the stairs. We'll assume that it's hidden. But I'm going to use a different kind of light that we haven't used before, and that is a rectangular light. And I've stayed away from the rectangular lights thus far because the rectangular lights, it's hard to give you, hey, this is the size and this is the wattage. Because the rectangular light varies in size, you have to compensate with the amount of wattage of the light itself. So the bigger it is, the stronger the light's going to have to be because it's spread out over more area. So it takes a little bit of trial and error to make it work. So I'm going to go ahead and use the rectangular light, which is right here next to sun. And it's going to ask you for a rectangular light corner. I'll start right there. It's going to ask you for a light length. I'll go to the other side of my stair, which is right there. And then it's going to ask me for the rectangular light width. Let me do the midpoint of the underside of the stair, I hope. That was not what I wanted. And at this point, it may help me to be in ghosted mode. So I can see there's the midpoint. So on the rectangular light, it looks like a rectangle, but it has an arrow with the direction that it's pointing. So the light's going in that direction. Again, just like with the point light and the spotlight, it needs to not be coplanar or inside of another surface. So I'm going to go to Move, V for vertical, and I'm just going to move it down ever so slightly, 0.125 inches. It's 1/8 of an inch, except it was a positive 1/8 of an inch instead of a negative. Let me go back and do it in the side view. It'll be a little bit easier. There it is. So it's below the stair itself. Now I'm going to go into my light properties. So very much like the last time, the color is going to be the same, 255, 214, 170. My intensity, we'll start at 30, and we're going to do 30 watts, and we'll see how that works. Now, a couple other things that are different about a rectangular light. Number one, we can choose to have it double-sided or single-sided. So in my case, this rectangle is pointing down. That's the direction I want it to go. There's no reason to have it double-sided. Two, I can choose to make the light itself visible or invisible. The other lights are always invisible. This one, if you choose to make it visible, you'll see a rectangle that represents the light. So it's a little different than the other lights. I'm going to choose to make it invisible. I do want there to be decay, so I'm going to ignore that. The rest of these lights settings are all just fine. So we're going to go with that as our trial run here. Now before I start to copy it among every stair or along every stair, I want to do a test to make sure it's working in the first place. So we'll go ahead and go to my V-Ray options. We'll go to my output. We're going to make sure this is nice and small. We'll do a height of maybe 100. I'm also going to go into System, and I'm going to make sure distributed rendering is off for the test, because otherwise it's going to choke down for a little bit. So it's off, and we'll go ahead and save. And then we'll go ahead and render. Looks like I'm going to have a problem with all of these pieces of grass that are coming through into my scene. So I should probably fix that too. Yep, see, there's the grass. I can already tell that the light's working. Let's see here. I can also tell that the night is working as well. So there we go. We're getting that little light. It may be a little bit strong. It's a little bit bright in its color. So let's go ahead and work that. I'm going to take this light here, and I'm going to change this down to maybe be 20 or maybe 15. Right? I'm just dropping that intensity down. Now I can go ahead and copy it to every one of the steps. So let me go ahead and copy. I could actually do an array. For time, let's do array. Number in the extra, well, no, we'll just copy it. Come on. Apparently, I should have done an array. All right, so there they all are, undersides of all the steps. I'm going to go back to my interior render here, and I'm going to go to my set view, interior render 2. So I've got that ready. I've got the little lights going up the stairs, so we're about ready to give it a shot. A couple other things about this. Number one, the sun needs to be turned off, otherwise it can't be night. The other option would be to select the sun and decrease the intensity. I would rather just turn it off, then I don't have to worry about it. So the sun's off. The terrain's fine, the ocean's fine. I should have put all of these lights not on the can lights. I should have done them on their own layer. But I think we're looking like it's pretty good. Notice that my view also happens to block all of those pieces of grass. So I'm not going to worry so much about those. So now that it's set, I'll go ahead and go to my V-Ray options. I'll go to my output, make sure that it's set small so I can do a test. And we'll go ahead and render it and see what the end result is. All right, so we can see, even though this is a very slow, bad quality render, that we are in fact getting the lights off of the stairs. They're glowing. This light is casting its shadow the way it should. Looks like I need some more lights further up here to make it really work. Furthermore, I probably need a light there, probably need a light there, maybe a piece of furniture there. So I need to evolve the scene, certainly. But I think the settings of the light seem about right for what I'm trying to do. Okay? So we introduced the rectangular light today. We can still use the spotlights. We can still use our point lights, depending on how we're using it. I will review the rectangular lights a little bit more next class, so it's not the last time you're going to see them. But today is really about making sure you're caught up. You're ready to do the exterior night rendering, because we're going to night next. And then after that, as we go forward in the class, really, you know, there's 4 weeks left of class, which means there's 8 actual meetings counting today. So there's 7 after today. We'll do the other render. So we'll do the exterior night render. And then I want to do plan sections, elevations, and those kinds of drawings from this. So we've got a lot more still to go. We're going to cut a section of this. So it's really time for you to be kind of wrapped up with what the geometry of your building looks like. The furniture should be in, the light should now be installed. Next class we'll work on the exterior lighting, and then we should be pretty good to go for the rest of the renders. Okay? So use your time wisely today, and then we'll keep going next class. Are there any questions? Yeah? Yes, I am giving out grade sheets.